and welcome back to the Spookins channel, a place to speak about all things horror. I'm Sarah.
I'm Sam.
And today we're going to be continuing with Horror Traitors.
We are. Last time we had a bird calling challenge, which the people were surprisingly good at.
Yeah.
Who knew what mimicry is helpful in a mimicry challenge?
Yeah, who knew?
Ray Waller fell in a pond,
He did.
became a ghost.
Had to happen at some point, didn't it?
Yeah.
He's a water ghost.
He's now a water ghost. And then we got a rather eventful round table discussion, which Mr. Reed mostly led in his tirade against a child, Abigail.
Yeah, led it to his detriment.
Ended up talking too much.
Yeah.
Was eliminated by the rest of the group vote.
Yeah, as the traitors intended. So
yeah, going according to
Tiffany's
traitor plan at the moment.
Smashing it out the park.
She is. And we left you with the choice of Ray Waller, Lady Raven, and Santanico Pandemonium as to who you thought would be murdered on this occasion. And Tiffany, to try and save herself a bit of time, has gone for Santanico.
Yeah.
So we've lost Santanico.
R.I.P. Rip.
Yeah, and that's it. That's leading into this, which is episode 7.
It really feels like Tiffany is leading the traitors gang here, isn't it? Like, it's her, Elizabeth. It's just her and Elizabeth, isn't it?
Her, Elizabeth, and Victoria.
And Victoria.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting Victoria because she's just not doing anything.
She went for a while, didn't she?
Yeah, she did go for a while, yeah. And it feels like Victoria's not really contributing anything, which feels like she's probably gonna go soon. And Elizabeth also, I think it's difficult for Elizabeth to contribute meaningfully to the traitors because of the whole body switch thing. So I don't know. I guess Tiffany's just smashing it, mate. Left, right, and centre.
Yeah, no need to change it if it isn't broken.
No, true.
And speaking of, knock, knock, knock on the door.
Knock, knock, knock.
Sue's back.
You didn't do the door noise.
I did knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock on the door. That's the door noise, isn't it? Knock, knock, knock.
Fair.
Knock, knock, knock on the door. Sue is back. Sue has returned to the game and is entering this room alongside Riff Raff, Sienna Shaw, and the Water Ghost.
The Water Ghost. Yay. I'm going to flip Elizabeth's little character around for us.
Yep. Whoop. Boop. Boop, boop. Anything to say?
I've already forgotten who you said.
Sienna Shaw.
Yep.
Sue.
Yeah.
The Water Ghost.
The
Ray
Water
Waller.
Ghost, yeah.
And Riff Raff.
Riff Raff. I think they're all like, oh, you're back to Sue. I'm not sure anyone is too pleased to see her because they all quite liked Elizabeth, didn't they?
Yeah, Elizabeth was getting on better than Sue was the first time
Sue was
round.
doing poorly. I wonder if she'll change her tactic now. But I think it will make her really angry that everyone liked Elizabeth so much. And then she'll be able to handle that they like her, Elizabeth, more than Sue. So I don't know. It could go a couple of ways. It could go that she changes her tactic, or she just becomes a bit spiteful and angry about it. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. Yeah, I think everyone's just kind of... Sienna and Lady Raven are probably a bit like, oh, great, because they didn't really get along with her at all, did they?
No.
Riff Raff is probably all right with it. And the Ray Waller, the Water Ghost, is just chilling. He's not currently in water.
No, it's not. No. There's water on the table.
He's happy to see Sue because she's fit.
Yeah, fair, fair enough.
Although, would he see that in her because she's probably not that much older than his daughter?
Also true.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, maybe
I don't know
not.
how old Sue is meant to be.
Maybe not.
Because Ray Waller, whilst we've lumped him in with the alpha males, there's only one aspect of his personality, is the baseball guy. And whilst it does take over during Night Swim, he is also like a father.
He's a dad, yeah.
And he does clearly favour his daughter in the film because she's good at baseball. So
He's still good at baseball.
I don't know, she's sporty.
Probably
So
is, yeah.
maybe he sees her in more that dynamic than she's fit kind of way. Because she's
Probably.
not too much older than his daughter. I don't know how old Sue is, but...
I feel like Sue's probably like 20.
Yeah, and his daughter is probably like 16 or 17. I don't really know how old she is. I mean, considering that they include a slightly steamy, intimate scene with her I would hope that she's meant to be on the older end of the teenage spectrum while still being in high school. So I reckon she's probably 17.
Yeah.
So it's probably not that much of an age difference. And Sue is athletic and sporty. So, although is she good at baseball, which seems to be the only one he cares about.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll have to find out, maybe.
I reckon, yeah. He probably is happy to see her. He probably doesn't think, oh, yeah, she's fit. Because she probably reminds him of his daughter. So that would be kind of weird. Yeah. Although, men are wild sometimes like that. So
yeah, they can be. A knock, knock, knock on the door. We are joined in the room by Tiffany Valentine.
Yeah.
Abigail. Edward Cullen and Roman Bridger.
I feel like Tiffany probably, we haven't really explored this yet, but I think she probably gets along well with Abigail at least. I think Edward is a bit, I don't know, he's a bit moralistic for Tiffany's liking, I think, but I think she would fit in with that gang. Like, I think she'd get on well with Abigail. They're both very chaotic women.
Yeah.
They're both always underestimated because they are women and girls. And I think they would get along quite well, actually. And I think she would, Abigail, Edward and Tiffany, it's a power group. And I wonder if she's going to try and explore that now because she's got rid of her friend. She needs to kind of have other allies now. I wonder if she does gravitate towards that group because she's fun. Do you know what I mean? And I think Abigail likes that about her.
Yeah, probably.
I think Edward is probably like, he is moralistic, yes, but he is friends with people who are less moral than himself. He's friends with all the vampires that eat people, and he invites them all to his house to come in the last one to come and witness Renesmee. So I don't know. I think maybe he's like, oh, like Tiffany, she's a bit cheeky, but she's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, probably. Cool. Another knock.
Knock, knock, knock.
This time we are joined by a group of loners. Victoria, Pinhead, and Santana Cocandemonium.
Dun dun dun!
What's she doing here?
But her figure isn't even down there. You kept this from even me.
I did. There you go. She's back. Can Tiffany hide her shock? Can Victoria, who went as with her?
Yeah, I think Tiffany is quite expressive, isn't she? So I think she might have a moment of shock, but it's whether anyone is looking at her. And I'm not sure that they are, because I think, is that the last group to come back?
No, we've got a couple more people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think if someone spots that, I don't think she'd be able to hide that shock initially. I also think that Victoria just comes down and immediately sits down with Tiffany and is like, what the fuck? So I think, I don't know, who do we think is observant in this group? Who do you think is watching?
Who is a watcher? I think Riff Raff's a watcher.
Yeah, I think Riff Raff is a watcher as well, and I think Heiter's a watcher.
I think Sienna's a watcher.
Yeah, and Roman.
Heiter's not in the room.
Watcher. Oh, Heiter's not in the room.
No.
Okay. Is Roman in the room?
Roman's Roman is in the room.
Come
Roman was
with
in the
her.
last group.
Okay.
No.
So I think that Roman's a watcher. Sienna's a watcher. I think Edward is a watcher as well. He's very good at reading people. And he did come in with Tiffany.
Yeah.
So they would be together. So I think he might sense...
Probably sat next to her, yeah.
Yeah, he might sense a little like tensing or like, oh. So I think he's kind of like... Side-eye. I don't know if that's coming across in the camera, but I'm side-eyeing Sam severely right now. So yeah, I think maybe Edward has picked up on that, but he's not quite sure what to make of it. Because like we said in the past, Edward is good at reading people, but without being able to read their mind, does he trust what he's reading? Does he, and he can't read it fully because he is reliant so much on reading people's minds now.
Yeah.
So I think he's picked up on it, but he doesn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
I think Riff Raff probably noticed it as well. Riff Raff loves a strong alternative woman. Although she's not his sister, so he's probably not that interested in her.
She's quite like her though.
She is.
I can
quite
imagine
like Magenta.
Jennifer Tilly playing Magenta.
Yeah, I could as well. So yeah, maybe he's watching her too. Maybe he notices it as well, and he's a bit more in tune to what that might mean. Because I mean, I think it's being a. This is where it comes into like meta gaming, because we obviously know that Santanico is not meant to come back. No one else in that room knows that Santanico is not meant to come back.
Yeah.
So they might see Tiffany's face, but then be like, "Oh, that's weird."
Yeah.
Because they don't know that she's not meant to have come back. But I reckon Riff Raff and Ed would have noticed it. And
Yeah, they just don't know what it.
They don't know what it means. But
Yeah.
when everyone else arrives and they notice that no other players have gone,
They might put
maybe
two
they
and two
then piece it
yeah.
together. I think that I'm getting ahead of myself. Carry on.
Cool. The last group enter.
Yeah.
So we have a full room now. So Haita, Carrie, Lady Raven, join us.
Yeah.
And we are a full group.
Yeah. I think
No one's
Victoria is being very suspicious right now. And
She's
Tiffany
sitting there
is,
with
yeah.
something like
She's just staring at Santanico, like, and everyone's kind of like,
that. What's going on? What are you doing, bro? It's like, this is normal for you, but also like
again, I think people are looking at her like, what are you doing? Because you are weird, but this is yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what I was gonna say is, now that everyone is back, most people would assume a recruitment has taken place.
Yeah.
But I think that might be the prevailing theory. But I think Edward and Riff Raff then piece it together and maybe think, okay, maybe that's not the case. Who had the shield? Did anyone have a shield?
Edward and Abigail had shields.
Edward and Abigail had shields, and neither of them came in with Santanico, did they? They came in themselves. Yeah.
And for the first time in a while, the traitors didn't know who had the shields.
Oh, okay.
So they could have gone for them.
Yeah. So I'm thinking either the prevailing theory will be that they've recruited, or they went for Edward or Abigail. But I think that Edward and Riff Raff noticed that interaction between Victoria and Tiffany, and also saw Tiffany's reaction, and are wondering, oh, maybe they did try to kill someone that walked in that group and were unsuccessful.
Does Sue know that Santanico should be murdered?
That's an interesting point, because it seems, I would say from what the film suggests, no.
Yeah.
They are two separate bodies. And what I'm thinking of is that scene where every time they wake up, they are surprised and annoyed at the state of the house.
Yeah.
So I think no.
So she doesn't know.
She's
got
know what
there's
has
no reaction
happened.
at all. She's just like,
yeah. Which might save her in this, because
she hasn't had a moment
react.
alone since waking up as Sue with any of the traitors to
Yes.
find out what's going on.
So really, even from her point, she doesn't even really know who is still a traitor.
Yeah.
So for her, it's very confusing. And I think Tiffany is smart, and she's going to know that's the case, because Elizabeth would have woken up in the same situation 7 days ago.
Yeah.
So I think that Tiffany is aware of that, and she's going to try and have a talk with Sue to just
try and put her at some point. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe even Sue might, to try and gather what's happening, might even just at breakfast be like, oh, what have I missed? Like, just to try and gauge, because she knows that she is a. Does she even know she's a traitor?
She knows she's a traitor.
Yeah, she knows she's a traitor.
Yeah.
So she might try and gauge what everyone thinks, whilst also gathering information from them all. So I think maybe she's like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So she learns who's been murdered, who was eliminated.
Yeah.
She learns probably bits of who voted for who around breakfast.
Yeah.
And like the prevailing theories of yesterday's campaigning.
I think so, yeah. And I'm wondering at this point if Victoria is, again, even more suspicious, because she just keeps looking at Santanico. Like, I don't think she says anything like, oh, yeah, and she should have been dead. But I think she's like, she just keeps looking at her like...
What happened to you?
Yeah. And I wonder if they just assume that she had the shield.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of Edward and Abigail, do either of them say?
I think Abigail might. I think
Might
Edward.
just be like, woo!
I think Edward is a bit more thoughtful, and I think Abigail is a bit more spiteful. And it's like, I think she goes, like, because Edward as well has seen the reaction of Tiffany. So
Yeah.
he's not going to say, oh, I had the shield. Whereas Abigail is like, ha, 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 looks like they came for me last night. Like, I can't remember her name. The one in the last season who thought that every time someone had tried to murder her. Leanne. Yeah. Abigail's pulling the Leanne and she's like, oh, look like they came for me last night, but shielded. And then Riff Raff, I think, then is like, okay, so it wasn't that Tiffany thought that they had the shield. If they, like, Santanico wasn't shielded and Tiffany seemed surprised to see her.
Yeah.
But it's what Riff Raff does with that information, because I do think he likes her. I don't think Riff Raff. I think Riff Raff and Edward both know what's kind of put together what had happened there. Aren't 100% sure, but I think Riff Raff is like, cool, I respect that. And I think he will be okay with the fact that Tiffany is a traitor without giving her away.
Okay.
For a while, at least. No, for a while, at least. And as well, Riff Raff is quite conniving, is that the word? So, yes, Tiffany probably reminds him of his sister wife. Yeah. But he also, like, it makes sense for him to play her for now.
Yeah, he's a schemer. He plays the long game, doesn't he? That's what he does.
Whereas Edward will want to do what is right, not thinking so much about the long game, and will want to do what's right and get her out. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the two different tactics in play
against each other. Yeah. Bella Winkleman. Yeah. Here she comes into the thing. She says, you notice everyone's here.
Yes. Interesting.
But there has been a murder. A slow-acting poison has been forcibly inserted into one of you, and you will die. Yeah. It's exactly how you think.
Okay, all right, carry on.
And you will die later today. That will be revealed at the end of our mission today. But until then, put your hiking boots on. Turn your brains into overdrive. And vroom vroom, let's go.
Cool. Bella Winkleman does like to drive. I mean, Bella Cullen, Swan, Bella. Bella from Twilight does like to drive. Yeah. So this is,
There you go.
She likes to drive fast. Yeah.
Nice. Any reaction to the slow death news? Is anyone fearing for their safety in particular?
Yeah, so I think the fact that she said that they will die, everyone now knows it's not going to be Abigail. Because she was just like, and then, was it one shield or one shield per team?
It was a shield per team.
So I guess then everyone also knows that Edward has a shield because they were a team. Yeah. They were together. So they've worked it out that them two have a shield, and so it was not them who was targeted.
Yeah.
So then I think, again, Riff Raff and Edward are like, okay, that reaction makes a bit more sense now. But I guess it's whether they know that reaction was specifically for Santanico.
Yeah, or whether it could be anyone in that
group. Yeah.
So were the eyes now what? Santanico, Pinhead, and Victoria.
Yeah,
that was the group that returned together.
But I don't think they say anything. I think they know it's going to be one of them. I wonder as well. I just don't know how they would know that the other one had noticed it, and they can.
Oh, they wouldn't.
So they wouldn't be able to talk about it. So yeah, I think they know it's going to be someone from that group.
Or they're expecting it to be at least.
They have thoughts that it will be someone from that group.
Okay, so mission.
I'm really sorry for the constant itching of my nose, by the way. There is something up it, and it's just not. We've paused twice to clear this, and it is just not stopping itching. So,
There you go. Mission is a long and slow funeral march.
Oh, it's a funeral march one. Yeah.
So they're following a road here. Bella Winkleman is in a carriage, a funeral carriage.
Yep.
Being pulled by the contestants.
Obviously.
Yeah. They're pulling her along, and they're heading to the final resting place of one of their own. Along the way, there are questions, the answer of which is a member of the congregation.
Okay. Yeah, I vaguely remember this one, but not enough, so I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where they buried Diana alive?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, and then if they get the questions right, it will reveal one player who is not dying.
Okay.
When we get to the end of the mission, any players left are kind of still there to be dead, and then they've got to guess who they think is gonna die.
Okay.
And if they get it right, they get money. If they don't, then they're wrong.
Okay. Oh, okay. Is this going to force Edward and Riff Raff's hand? Because they're going to want money.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, along the way, we get 9 questions.
Mm-hmm.
As a group, these are questions. So the answers of it's things that have happened
Okay.
so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, the answers are themselves.
Okay.
So it'll be like who during the first task was the first person to pick up a shield and things like that.
Yeah.
How do we think they do?
I mean, it really depends what the questions are, and who is still around, like who is still around that the questions relate to. Because if it's something like who was the first one to get a shield or something, and that person is still there, they'll be like, it was me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think they do okay.
Yeah, these aren't hard. They're not difficult questions.
I reckon they probably get how many are there? 9.
There's 9 on the way.
They'll probably get about 7. They might get 1 or 2 wrong. I think it's hard to say that they would be perfect because, like I say, there will be people who it doesn't relate to anymore, and they might just not remember. And there have been gameplay in place, so I think they probably get 7.
Okay, fine.
It's hard to get a perfect score. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
7. They're decent enough at the game that they get over 2/3. Right.
Lovely. Shall we pick 7 random people who are revealed safe?
Okay, so we took a short break to randomize those numbers. We asked Siri, and they
gave us the same number over and over again.
That's true random. That's true random. Sometimes it is the same number consecutively. So we won't include that because it took a while, and you don't want to hear me saying Siri, pick a random number between 1 and 15 about 10 times. So the people that are safe are Riff Raff, Roman, Shaggy, Lady Raven, Sienna, Carrie, and Abigail.
They are indeed. So we get then to the burial site. There is one grave that's been dug.
Right.
The group will have to come to a consensus of who needs to climb into that grave.
Into the grave, yeah. I think at this point, Edward is like, maybe I shouldn't keep this to myself. Riff Raff is like, I ain't telling nobody. I don't know. I wonder. I just can't see Edward not providing that information. It doesn't
even
benefit
if it's just
him.
Kind of like, there's a bit of a weird reaction earlier when.
Yeah. So I think he can narrow it down.
He would say, I think it's one of Pinhead, Victoria, and Santanico.
Yeah. I think, and maybe he doesn't even say who had the reaction.
He just said, I noticed a bit of a weird reaction when those 3 came in.
And I think it's probably one of them. And I think no one else has any idea, really.
No, why would they?
Yeah. And then I think as well, Tiffany, because he hasn't named her, is probably like, yeah, there was. Because why would she have murdered Santanico? You know? I think she's going to try and play that off like, but Victoria acted kind of weird.
Victoria was staring at Santanico maybe the whole time. Maybe
I think
her.
maybe Tiffany says that. She's like, well, Victoria was staring at Santanico the entire time.
Yeah, maybe it's because she murdered her and she's still there and she's confused.
And then Victoria's just like... But then everyone just assumes that Victoria doesn't like being called out.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't suspect Tiffany from that.
Yeah.
So I think Victoria might be cooked here. I think that Edward said, and then Riff Raff might, if it's already been said, and then Tiffany, because he wouldn't want to turn it on Tiffany, but now that Tiffany's turned it on Victoria, he might feel happier to say, yeah, you did have a weird reaction when that group came in. I agree, it's probably one of them. Yeah. And I agree it's probably not you because you had the weird reaction, so that leaves Santanico and Pinhead. And I think it's probably Santanico because you stared at her the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they've worked it out. I think everyone else is kind of just like, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't think anyone else is totally sure right now on who the traitors are or who they might have murdered. Some people might suspect Abigail and Carrie, but Carrie doesn't really have anyone that she would try and kill. So I think whilst they might think she's a traitor, they don't know what that means in terms of who has been murdered. And Abigail, again, they might bring up that Abigail would probably want to see Dr. Heiter or Roman murdered because she doesn't like them, basically. How did Santanico vote in the last round? Did she vote to get rid of Reed or did she vote to get rid of Abigail? I assume she got rid of Reed.
She voted for Carrie.
Oh, she voted for Carrie.
Because Carrie cried.
Oh, yeah.
And Santanico wasn't a fan of crying.
Yeah. So then potentially it could also lead back to Carrie if it is Santanico then. Yeah, I think that theory is the strongest one.
Yeah.
That Victoria was staring at Santanico, so she's probably a traitor, and Santanico is probably one that's been murdered.
Yeah.
I think then that has implications for Carrie. But I think if anyone suspects Carrie and Abigail right now, there's no one else they think they would have murdered over Santanico. And I think, if they do remember the voting, they'll probably think, it would make sense because Santanico voted for Carrie.
Yeah.
And Carrie, I don't want to say spiteful because it's well earned. Her vengeance. Her little rampage is well earned.
Yeah.
But if you wrong Carrie White, you're gonna know about it eventually. So it makes sense. Okay. I'm happy that they get it. That so they know that it's Santanico.
They get it right. Yeah. Santanico must climb.
She gets in the grave like this the whole time.
Into the grave.
She's fuming. She does not take it well.
Where her other players must bury her under the dirt.
Yeah.
And she's not gonna
go quietly. She's gonna be like as she goes. So I think they get it right, and I think that does have some very serious implications for Carrie and Victoria. It could have implications for Tiffany if Victoria chooses to be spiteful.
Edward thinks it's Santanico because of Tiffany's reaction, not
True.
Victoria. He's not saying that out loud, but he doesn't actually think it's Victoria.
Yeah, that's true.
If this is right, as far as he's concerned, that confirms Tiffany, not Victoria.
That's true.
Tiffany's throwing a buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also Victoria was very obviously staring at her.
Yeah, so knew as well.
I think Edward would probably be like, okay, it's probably both of them.
Yeah.
And he is clever, so he's like, the sentiment is clearly for Victoria right now. I'll hold on to Tiffany.
Yeah.
But then that's going to backfire on him because then it's going to be
maybe he'll do that thing that they always do. There's always one where they keep someone in who's obvious, don't they? As like the layup.
Yeah. And then they don't tell anyone and then everyone thinks that's suspicious.
Yeah.
In return that they didn't mention it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there we go. Santanico
once again
is actually removed from the game this time.
Actually removed this time. We take our little character away.
So she's gone. I'm
going to post a picture of this little layout on our Instagram because when I say our little characters, I think that oversells it. This is this is the little character.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to get back to the house for some downtime.
Yeah.
Tiffany going to find a moment here to catch Sue up.
I think so.
Or is that's probably happened before? It's probably between breakfast and
No, I don't think
mission.
she will have had a chance to catch her up properly. I think Sue's got a good idea of what's gone down, but she doesn't know what's gone down from the traitor's point of view. So I think Tiffany needs a chance to catch up with Sue. I think Tiffany also wants to do some damage control with Victoria. I think Edward wants to chat to Riffraff because now he knows that Riffraff also saw a reaction because he was like, I saw that too. Yeah. And he wants to know what else he saw.
Who the reaction he was actually referring was.
But I think that Riffraff might lie.
Is Victoria just like getting back to that house and openly campaigning against Tiffany now?
I don't know. Maybe. I think she is furious and I think maybe she's like, well, she doesn't articulate it well enough. I think.
There's a chance she's just kind of laughing it off.
Yeah.
Just being like, that's great.
Yeah, maybe.
Amazing. Good
plan. I think, she's like, that would be a great thing to say if you were a traitor, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Like, I think she's at this point maybe accepting that it's done for her, and she's gonna take all the other ones down with her as well. So I think she's just fuming. So she's like trying to laugh it off and be like, "Oh, what a stupid theory! What a great theory to come up with if you were a traitor." I was staring at her for other reasons, but she doesn't go into them.
We know the other reasons.
But she doesn't go into them. That's what I mean. I think she tries to pass the buck, but she doesn't articulate it well enough. She can't think of another reason why she was staring at Santanico beyond the obvious.
Beyond the obvious. Yeah, beyond the reason everyone is.
Yeah, and I think that she probably will try and pass it off on Tiffany. I'm not 100% sure how well it sits, how well it lands. I think it lands well with Edward and Riff Raff.
Yeah.
I think they're like, okay, 100%. It's Tiffany and Victoria. Like, but they maybe they do conflab, but I'm not sure how Riff Raff feels about getting rid of Tiffany yet. Is the thing whether he tells Edward that he actually agrees with him,
whether he thinks he needs her in there a bit longer.
Yeah. So I think he's like, well, I definitely saw Victoria, and he bears it in mind that Edward has also seen it. So that's Edward and Riff Raff. So who do we think else? We focused quite a lot on them in this episode, I think.
We have, yeah.
So what do we think everyone else is doing? I think Sienna is like, I told you all Victoria was a traitor.
Yeah.
I told you all.
She's
I knew
fully
it.
back on it. Like.
Yeah. So she's like, I have voted for her consistently because I believe that she is a traitor. And I think we should all consider voting for Victoria this time. And everyone's like, yeah, you know what? You were right. It's like when, I can't remember his name, when Jake maybe was gunning for Linda the entire time. And then eventually everyone was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Victoria is the Linda. And everyone's like, she did walk through the traitor door.
She did, yeah.
In the last episode.
Yeah.
And Abigail then is like, hey, that doesn't mean anything.
We're just trolls, bro.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But then I think Abigail's like, well, I did it as a little joke, and then I was surprised that she followed me.
Yeah.
I did it to kind of be like, oh, guess I'm a traitor. Because you were all going at me. But then Victoria followed me, and that's weird.
That is weird.
She didn't need to do that. Either she thinks she's funny and she's not, or she's a traitor. And Sienna's like, both.
Also, yeah.
Why not both?
Yeah, 100% both.
So I think Victoria's a bit cooked in this session. But it will be interesting to see the round table anyway.
So let's see it.
Okay, all right.
Might as well.
I think Sienna is like, I want to say something. And she is like, look, I know I say this almost every round table, but I think we should seriously consider Victoria in this one, based, if we're going off of evidence, as Reed suggested we should, and he turned out to be a faithful. So he wanted to go down this logic, evidence-based path, and was voted off for it, turned out to be a faithful. Was that the traitors then trying to turn us all against him? Maybe we should go down the evidence-based path, in that Victoria was staring at Santanico in a strange way, for one. For two, she walked through the traitor door yesterday. And for three, I just know it's her. No, I don't think she says that. But she's like, yeah, I think we can't ignore this anymore. I know I've been saying her for weeks, but now we actually have the evidence. Are we going to continue to ignore what is in front of our faces?
Yeah.
And I think Victoria's just like, shut up.
Shut up. You beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, 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 beep.
It's a really long stream of expletives that the BBC cannot show. So yeah, I think Victoria is really angry. And she's like, okay, but like, it wasn't just me that seemed surprised that Santanico came in. Like, maybe we were just surprised about someone else. I don't know. She's like, Tiffany was also quite surprised to see her.
Yeah. She's like, weren't you, Tiffany?
Yeah, she's like, weren't you? Huh? And Tiffany's like, no, I was surprised at your reaction because I thought that's quite a traitor reaction. And I thought that I was shocked that you were just staring at her the whole time, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But then as the day went on, it all started to make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think Edward would at this point say, actually, Tiffany, I thought you were.
Before, yeah,
Also,
even before
yeah,
Victoria.
I think Edward does say, actually, I also thought that you looked surprised that
Hmm.
Santana Co came in. And Riff Raff is just giving him daggers because he thought they had kind of come to a consensus that they weren't going to bring it up. Um, so yeah, I think that raises questions at the table. And was like, oh, why were you surprised then, Tiffany? And Riff Raff at this point is like, okay, like I can't. I wanted to play a game,
Hmm.
but Edward's just ruined it.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I did see that
Yeah,
as well.
he might think as well, like if he loses Tiffany here, he might think Edward will be. This might be able to get him into that
Yeah,
group,
because
which
he is
actually would strengthen
floating.
his position.
He's
Yeah.
floating at the moment, and
Yeah.
whilst he does that, Tiffany, he can turn like that, Riff Raff.
Yeah.
So I think once he realizes that Tiffany is now on the table,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, fine, whatever. And then Tiffany, I think, defends herself a bit here and is like, you just said we have to go off evidence.
Yeah.
And that's not really evidence. You're both saying, oh, it looked like you were a bit surprised.
Yeah.
Whereas Victoria has more solid evidence
Yeah.
against her. So it doesn't really seem like if you vote for, it just does that thing. If you vote for me, I'm going to stand up there and I'm going to say I'm a faithful and you're going to look stupid. But I think she does back Sienna a bit here in that, yeah, we should go off evidence.
Victoria,
And
yeah.
maybe she does
if you want
that
to come
thing,
back to me, yeah.
if you want to come back to me, we'll come back to me.
We'll talk about it next time.
But
yeah.
this time we have to go off the evidence, as we've all been saying, as Sienna is saying, and it's all right. And then I think Tiffany says, we can come back to me. However, I think if Victoria is a traitor,
Yeah.
we then need to look at Carrie.
Yeah.
Based off of this evidence.
Yeah. She
And then
could
it's
say
like,
as well, it's like if we're choosing who to follow here, it's like, does any single person in this room have doubts about Sienna?
yeah.
And then like, does any single person in this doubt have doubts about like Riff Raff? Like probably. So yeah, you've got to follow Sienna before you follow the others.
Exactly. I think Tiffany is like, come on, man. Like Sienna, literally like the embodiment of Christ in her story. Or Riff Raff, who turns on people on a dime. Do you know what I mean? Like,
She doesn't know that, but yeah.
no, she doesn't know that. But
yeah.
she's like, what do
He's
you
a little,
think?
this little creepy rat man.
Yeah, versus Sienna. And I think she manages to shift it from her. And I think she does raise that they need to look at Carrie next.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Victoria is a traitor, we'll come back to me next week. But I think we need to also consider Carrie if we're going off our evidence-based approach. Because Santanico voted for Carrie and then ended up dead.
Yeah.
And Carrie's been brought up she was brought up at the last round table and no one's really discussed that, and she's going under the radar massively.
Yeah.
So I think, sure, whatever, if you want to discuss me next, that's fine. But I think the better route here is to vote for Victoria, and if Victoria is a traitor, then we have to consider Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, although that's a risky tactic, because if they do look at Carrie, she's going to be a faithful. Sometimes you've got to be bold, innit?
Yeah.
You've got to save yourself. She's got a few more... Give herself just a little bit more time to change people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think Tiffany is... I don't know. People like Tiffany enough that they might be like, no, it's not her.
Maybe, yeah. She might be able to. She might be able to wiggle out of it with a couple of days to think things through.
Yeah, maybe. If she can convince Riff Raff and Edward that she did not have a surprised expression, she might be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's not too much else to say, really, is there? I think it's between Victoria, Tiffany, and Carrie, basically, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think Abigail's been put to rest for this round table.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's going to come up as a suspect.
No,
she's
I
not
don't think
done
so.
anything, really. Yeah. I think it's between Tiffany, Victoria, and Carrie for this vote. I think it's going to be quite split, but we'll see.
Let's have a look now.
We'll see.
We will start then with Tiffany.
Tiffany votes for Victoria.
Who votes for Vic?
Obviously. Riff Raff also votes for... Actually, is it going to be that split? I don't think it will be, to be honest. I think the only people... I don't think anyone...
I think it's a lot of Victoria.
I think Victoria's gone.
Yeah,
basically.
I do too.
I think the only people that might vote for Tiffany are Edward and his squad. However, Sienna is also in that squad
Yeah.
and wants Victoria out. So, and I think Edward appreciates that there's time to get Tiffany.
Mhm.
He's also pretty sure that Victoria is a traitor. So there's no point voting against that
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Victoria's gone. I don't think we have any left field votes. I don't think anyone randomly votes for anyone else.
Mhm.
So I think Victoria's gone.
Okay. There we go. And she's up. She gets to say her piece.
Again, it's just a long string of
just a lot of
expletives.
expletives. Not a lot of
Yeah.
sense to be made.
Yeah, and then she's like, I am a traitor. See you later.
Leaves through the faithful door.
And leaves through the faithful door.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a happy squad. Everyone's
And then yeah, I think Sienna has now got Jake's status.
Yeah, she's just yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you knew it from the start. And she's like, I know. So I think Sienna's point of view is going to hold a lot of weight from now on going forward. I think Riff Raff and Edward are in a tricky spot because now what do they do with the Tiffany information?
Yeah.
Edward is also suspicious of his group, if you remember, from the women thing.
Yeah, because he's all women. Yeah, and the odds of one of them being probably
because his squad is quite big.
Yeah, yeah.
So is it now, especially as well, the traitors that, what's his name? Hedwig? Said I don't like playing with girls. And then it was a woman who was voted out next and was a traitor. So does that now hold more weight that it's his Hedwig's statement? So is he now also looking at Carrie?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because she did vote for you and you did crumble when she came for you. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a tricky one.
Let's move to the turret.
Yeah. So they have to try and recruit now, don't they?
No, it's two of them.
Oh, yeah, true. So it's Tiffany and Sue.
Yes.
I think they will try and recruit. I think it's in their best interests, and I think Tiffany is going to try and recruit Riff Raff.
Yeah,
to get him off her back.
It's a good play.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who they would think about?
I don't know, because they do have the option to reject it, don't they?
They do, yeah.
So I think the best plays here are Riff Raff and Carrie to just throw them under the bus, basically. But I don't think Carrie would accept it because she knows she's in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, she would probably see it coming.
Yeah.
Because they did it. Because Sue was recruited for the same reason.
Yeah.
Was to be a throw under the bus thing, and she's managed
to avoid that. But I don't think that's through her own actions.
No.
No.
It's through Elizabeth.
It's whether Carrie thinks that she can throw the other traitors under the bus first. And she doesn't really know who the traitors are.
Yeah.
She might think it's Tiffany. I don't think anyone suspects Sue / Elizabeth.
No.
Right now.
No. I think the only other thing is the traitors would probably think it would be quite good if they could get an in that group close to Sienna.
Yeah.
But yeah, would any of them accept?
I just think they would want to recruit.
So.
I just think they'd want to recruit a man to disprove the Hedwig theory.
But they definitely recruit. They don't just murder.
I don't think so. I think they see that they need a third person. And I think Tiffany and Sue both agree that it should be someone who they can easily. It should be someone that they can throw to them.
Okay.
Because I don't think there are any. There's no obvious murder suspects.
No.
Right now.
No.
Unless they use this opportunity to get rid of Edward, but then that comes straight back to Tiffany. If they murder Edward, because
you need to get rid of Sienna at some point now.
Yes, they do. I don't know if now is the time.
No, probably not right now, but
because Sienna, I don't know. They could turn that back on Carrie if they're going off the evidence one. It's like, oh, everyone that has crossed Carrie. Although Sienna didn't say Carrie, did she? No. Yeah. Okay. I think. I don't know.
No, I think Riff Raff as a recruit is.
Yeah, but then is it suspicious then when Riff Raff is like, oh no, actually, I was wrong. But I think he's also an easy to throw under the bus because he's not really friends with anyone, is he? I think they either try and recruit Riff Raff or they try and recruit Carrie. And I'm not really sure.
None of the kind of men who are a bit out of it at the moment, not like Haita or Roman or...
I don't know. I am thinking maybe Roman, but I think that Tiffany would hate Roman. So I don't think he has a chance of being recruited while she is still here.
Okay.
I think Sue also would hate Roman. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a director.
Yeah.
I think if Roman was recruited, as soon as Elizabeth came back, Roman's getting thrown under the bus. But then again, do they do that so that does the theory still hold weight that they want to recruit a man to disprove Hedwig's theory?
Yeah, does it back Hedwig's theory even more when, like...
They recruit Carrie and... I don't know,
yeah.
Okay, maybe Roman could be in there because I think Roman would be fairly easy to throw under the bus because he's like Reed, annoying and talks a lot. Although he didn't really say much in this last one.
No, he hasn't been talking a lot.
He hasn't been talking a lot, has he? Okay, so we're looking at a recruitment and it is between Riff Raff, Roman and Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we leave it there. We've been leaving them on cliffhangers.
One quick last one.
Yeah.
Do they look at Abigail? Now that she's escaped suspicion? And she's kind of... Tiffany's getting a bit closer to her, likes her a bit more.
Yeah.
She's just kind of... She's come out the other end of people looking at her. It usually means she's immune from being eliminated for a little while at least.
Yeah, I'm just not sure they would want to recruit a woman.
Okay.
Because... Although I suppose none of the men... Yeah, I think they would want to recruit a man, throw him under the bus immediately, so that the female theory is thrown out the window. Because they won't know whether they were there from the beginning or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. I don't know.
So that's your three, yeah? Your Riff Raff.
Think about that.
Your Roman...
Take Carrie out and put Abigail in for contention. I think Abigail makes more sense.
Abigail, makes more sense. And none of the other men don't think Haita. We don't think of Water Ghost.
No,
Shaggy.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they think Shaggy would say yes.
Yeah. Shaggy's not saying yes.
Pinhead is pointless.
Pinhead is pointless right now. He's done nothing, and I think Pinhead needs to get involved, or he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's probably coming to the point now where they're going to start looking at.
They're going to start looking at Pinhead.
People who just do nothing.
Yeah. Oh, then, is he a contender? Because easy to throw under the bus. He's not done anything.
Maybe.
All right. So we've got 4 contenders. I know it's normally 3, but we've got 4. Because it's our game, and we can do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for once, I don't think we've come to a consensus at the end of the video.
No.
Okay, so we've got Riff Raff, Pinhead, Abigail, and Roman up for contention for being recruited.
Yeah, we will decide off camera what the next step is. You can also decide.
Yeah, let us know what you think, because genuinely, I don't know right now. We're going to have to think about this. So let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Do all the YouTube stuff. Comment, subscribe, bell.
Yeah. Like the video.
Like the video also. Let us know what you think about the video in general and who you think is going to be recruited. Because I mean, realistically, we could do with some help with this one. Sorry we missed last week or the week before. I can't remember what it was. There was a gap. We weren't feeling very well, but we're back in action now.
We are indeed.
And we will see you.
Continue to be in action.
Yes, we will continue to be in action. And we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.